What's going on, guys? UFC Fight Night Dern versus Ribas 2 took place last night. Today we're going to be going over each fight, talking about them a little bit. I didn't do too well on predictions for this card, but it's a fight night. They can usually be pretty random. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get right into the first fight. First fight of the card, Nurullo Aliyev defeats Joe Solecki via a 29-28 unanimous decision. Got this one picked perfectly, right on the money. Aliyev just looked like the better grappler, man. He was just out grappling Selecki, out wrestling him. Selecki had a few decent moments where he kind of had Aliyev in like a few bad spots on the ground, but other than that, man, Aliyev just looked dominant. And even on the feet, man, he was landing. His boxing didn't look the most technical, but he was able to land. He was able to land some good shots. And against the fence, actually, he landed a nice right hook, I believe, which really hurt Selecki, dropped him. And then Aliyev started going crazy with the ground and pound, similar to what he did on the Contender Series, I believe. But yeah, man, just dominated him. Selecki was able to survive, but definitely didn't do enough to win. Aliyev just pretty much dictated the pace of the whole fight. Next for Nurullo Aliyev, man, I don't know. You could give this guy a bunch of fights in the lower areas of lightweight. Maybe a Drakkar Close, that'd be interesting. Guram Kutateledze, Elvis Brenner, any of those, bottom, not bottom, but like lower ranked lightweights that aren't really close to the rankings. I think those would all be good matchups for Nurullo Aliyev. I actually like the idea of Nurullo Aliyev versus Guram Kutateledze. I think that would be a good matchup. As for Joe Selecki, honestly, I don't even know, man. I don't even know what you do with him. Maybe, I don't even know. Don't even think I can name anybody right now, but I'm sure they'll find somebody for him. But yeah, let's move on to the next fight. I understand it now. I understand why Fatima Klein was a minus 800 favorite against Victoria Dudikova. Fatima Klein TKOs Victoria Dudikova in the second round, getting the first finish of 2025. That was a really dominant performance, man. Like, Dudikova just had nothing. Like, every time she tried to take Klein down, Klein would either stuff it or reverse it and end up on top. And on the feet, there was a night and day difference. Klein was faster, sharper, much better boxing, much better kicks. I don't know, man. Like, I was confused why she was a minus 800 favorite, but that really just proved it, man. She was clearly just a far superior fighter, much better. And glad I got another pick right, because it doesn't get much better from here. But yeah, man, Dudikova, she like slapped her coach at the end of the fight. I don't know what that was about. It's not your coach's fault, little bro. Do better. Take a year off, sharpen up your skills, come back. As for Klein, she didn't take any damage really in that fight. Get back in there soon, rack up some good unranked wins, and I don't know, become a contender before it's too late because women's MMA is boring as ever. But yeah, let's move on to the next fight. You got to be fucking kidding me right now. This is what I mean when I say light heavyweight is dog shit. Magomed Gadzhiev, V at the end of his name, undefeated, 9-0, great shape. He looks really fast. Gets 29-28'd by a hairy Mexican dad at a barbecue. Bruno Lopez defeats Magomed Gadzhiev via a 29-28 unanimous decision, out grappling the guy with the V at the end of his name who's undefeated. This is what I mean, guys, when I say light heavyweight is shit. Genuinely, light heavyweight is a dog shit division. What the fuck was that? Honestly, what was that? I don't know what I just watched. But sure, I guess. I don't know what to say, man. Light heavyweight's just so bad. Like, holy shit. Like, Bruno Lopez versus Vitor Petrino next. I want to see Vitor Petrino lose again or some shit. I don't know. Get him against Felipe Lins, maybe. Get him against Marcin Prachnio. Get him against Ihor Potieria. Ihor Potieria lost later in this card. Get him against Anton Turkalj. Get him against any of these unranked light heavyweights, man. Because, how the fuck did you lose? Like, Magomed, your name is Magomed Gadzhiev, undefeated. Like, and you lose to, like, this dude who looks like a Mexican uncle who would, like, make some good carne asada tacos. 29-28'd by the Mexican dad. Like, come on, man. This guy walked out with a cowboy hat. Bruno Lopez walked out with a cowboy hat. And just 29-28'd a Khabib clone. Like, holy shit, light heavyweight is genuinely one of the worst divisions. It might be worse than heavyweight. That might be going too far. I'm gonna take it back a notch. But come on, man. Like, I don't know. Like, Bruno Lopez versus Ihor Potieria. Because why the fuck not? Let's move on to the next fight. Ernesta Karakite defeats Nicole Cagliari via a 29-28 split decision. This was my first underdog pick of the card. I picked Nicole Cagliari, and I almost got it done, man. She looked great in the beginning of the fight. She looked faster. She was blitzing in, landing some good karate combos, kicking at the legs. And honestly, like in the grappling match, she was doing good too. But I don't know, man. Like I still think this was a good underdog pick, man, because of how close the fight was. It was a split decision. Could have went Nicole Cagliari's way. I was really praying it did because I wanted to get an underdog pick right. But man, you can't get them all, man. You can't get them all. But honestly, not a terrible fight. Actually, pretty entertaining. I'm gonna be honest. I did not know Ernesta Karakite was like 5'9". Like I knew she was like tall, but I never actually like looked at like her stats or anything to see how tall she was. She's 5'9". I did not expect that. Thought she would be like maybe 5'7" at most, but 5'9", man. Wow. Maybe that would have altered my prediction some way, but no, I still think this was a good underdog pick. And you know what? Like I said, you can't get them all. Nothing really to say about this fight. It was a solid fight. Let's move on to the next one. Big Aljamain Sterling gets the win over Preston Parsons via first round KO. Picked this one right on the money. He looks like Aljamain Sterling. I actually can't get over that. It's so funny to me. But yeah, man, big Aljamain Sterling with nasty knockout power. He looks dangerous, man. That's going to be on the highlight reel for his next fight. Hit him with a nasty left hook, set it up really well, and then the ground and pound to finish it off. That was nice. But as for his next fight, man, I was thinking this after watching the card, looking back on all the fights that happened. Uros Medic lost by a TKO on this card, but he's also a KO artist himself. Jacob Smith versus Uros Medic could be interesting, man. I would love to see that fight. Get that on the prelims of you know what? UFC 312 is looking pretty shit. You know, nah, Uros Medic won't be ready till then. But you know, maybe I don't know, man. But Jacob Smith versus Uros Medic, I think should happen sometime. That'd be a sick fight. Maybe a Max Griffin fight. Maybe Phil Rowe. Maybe Charles Radke. Any of these lower ranked welterweights, I think Jacob Smith could do well against, and I think give him some guys that he could put a nice highlight reel on. Give him some. Hold on, let me rephrase this. Give him some fighters that he could build up a nice highlight reel with. Get some nice KOs. Because man, I can see this guy being in the rankings, man. He looks solid, but yeah, without further ado, let's get on to the next fight. Thiago Moises gets the win over Trey Ogden via 29-28 unanimous decision. This fight went exactly how I said it would. Moises was dictating the pace pretty much the whole fight, besides like the first round where Ogden was landing really good, especially at the end of the first round where he was landing some quick combos. He looked fast, but man, Moises got the grappling going, hit some nice reversals, and got on top. And man, the leg kicks were adding up too. He hurt Ogden with some calf kicks. Ogden went down actually to calf kicks, and Moises just kept wailing on his legs while he was down. A lot of good control time from Moises, and dude, he just looked good, man. My point stands. Moises only loses to good or great fighters. These guys like Trey Ogden are not going to be able to beat him. He kicks too hard. His grappling is too good. He's just too good for these lesser skilled guys. And honestly, next for Thiago Moises, I think him versus Drew Dober would be an absolute sick matchup. I don't know who'd win that one, honestly. I'd probably lean Moises after seeing some of Drew Dober's recent performances. I would honestly maybe lean Moises, but who knows? It'd definitely be a very, very close fight. And yeah, man, let's move on to the next fight. Marco Tulio versus Ihor Potieria. My prediction for this one was a complete shot in the dark. I knew Tulio was a lot more likely to win, but you got to have these crazy underdog picks sometimes because sometimes they happen, especially on a fight night, which fight nights can be really random. But I was wrong. Potieria did not get the flash KO I was hoping for. Marco Tulio gets the first round KO, and honestly, Potieria did kind of clip him with some good shots, but it's only a matter of time before Potieria gets KO'd. I honestly don't know how Cesar Almeida didn't finish him. Um, I don't know. That's sometimes fights can be strange, but yeah, Potieria didn't get it done. A little disappointing, but he's still a fun fighter. He still produces good KOs, whether it's him getting KO'd or him getting the KO. But Marco Tulio, man, this guy has good power. I can see this guy doing pretty good in the middleweight division. Let's move on to the next fight now. Jose Johnson versus Felipe Bunez. I should have just stuck with my original pick for this one. I was going to go with Felipe Bunez by decision as an underdog, but I thought Johnson's frame was going to be a little too tricky for a guy like Bunez, but nasty first round submission. I thought Jose Johnson was going to scramble out of it. He was rolling well. He looked like he was going to maybe be able to scramble out of it, but Bunez held onto the armbar and eventually got him in the right position, and Johnson tapped. I don't know what you do with Johnson, man. Johnson, listen, I think you should move up to bantamweight. You're 6 foot with a 71.5-inch reach. You would be tall for a featherweight. Like, why are you at flyweight? I know your cardio's cooked. I know your strength is cooked. Move up to bantamweight, cut less weight, be, a tall, rangy bantamweight with good, a decent submission game. And, like, I don't know, like, this guy lost to Damon Blackshear and then just decided to go down to flyweight. Like, dude, losing to Damon Blackshear is not like a terrible look. Go back up, sharpen up your skills. You could be a lot better at bantamweight than you are at flyweight. But yeah, man, As for Felipe Bunez, nasty submission win. I think him versus Cody Durden would be a really, really good matchup. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be interesting. Both of them lost to Joshua Van the last time they lost. Cody Durden's last fight was against Josh Van, where he lost. And Felipe Bunez, before this fight, lost to Joshua Van by TKO. So I think that could be really interesting. And yeah, man, set that fight up as like a prelim fight because I'd be pretty excited for that, man. I think it'd be interesting. There are some other fighters you could maybe go with. Maybe a Bruno Silva. He just lost to Manel Kape. That could be interesting. But nah, I'm liking the Cody Durden matchup. And yeah, man, let's move on to the next fight. Punahele Soriano sleeps Uros Medic 30 seconds into the first round. Caught Medic as he was backing up with his chin in the air. Medic just flopped backwards into the cage, and Soriano just ground and pounded him. Got a nasty finish. Man, I thought Medic was going to be the one to get the KO here, man, but Soriano looks super dangerous. He looks super slick. Not really, I wouldn't say slick, but dangerous definitely. I think there's a few fun matchups you could go with here for Soriano. Nursultan Ruzaboev is out there. Maybe him versus maybe Soriano versus Ruzaboev on the prelims for 312. That could really help that card because that card is looking really, really bad so far. Maybe Soriano versus Themba Garimbo. Maybe Soriano versus Li Jane Liang. That'd be sick. Get that on the prelims for UFC 312. Punahele Soriano versus Li Jane Liang. That would be a sick fight. But yeah, man, really fun fighter. I'm excited to see where this guy goes, man, because I'm actually starting to like Punahele, man. He's fun. He seems like a fun guy. He seems like he's gonna put on fun fights consistently. And yeah, man, I'm excited. Let's move on to the next fight. Christian Rodriguez defeats Austin Boshi via a 29-28 unanimous decision. I should have went with my gut prediction on this one as well. I don't know. Christian Rodriguez is a fraud checker, man. I should have just seen this one coming. I put too much faith into Austin Boshi. I should have remembered what Rodriguez did, man. Well, I did remember, but didn't take it into much consideration. He fraud checked Raul Rosas Jr., fraud checked Cameron Simon, and now he's fraud checked Austin Boshi as well. This guy is just a fraud checker, man. He's just out here beating these up and coming guys. And honestly, man, I'm starting to realize Christian Rodriguez is very underrated, man. This guy is super good. And I think there's a lot of interesting matchups you could go with for Christian Rodriguez. Dude, he was kind of emoting on Austin Boshi there. I'm not gonna lie, he was like doing some like big stomps. Austin Boshi was like flinching every single time. Rodriguez just Rodriguez just looked great in this fight. Boshi did have some really good moments in the wrestling. I definitely see potential in this kid, but man, as for now, Christian Rodriguez is still the best fraud checker in the UFC, it seems like. And I think him versus Sadiq Youssef could be a sick fight, or him versus Nate Landwehr. I think both of those would be really sick matchups. And I think Christian Rodriguez, I would favor him in both of those matchups. I think he's super underrated. And yeah, man, I gotta stop underrating these fighters, man, because Christian Rodriguez, he is a fraud checker at heart. And he did what he always does, fraud checked Austin Boshi. And yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov, absolute banger of a fight. I knew this one was going to deliver. Ever since this fight got announced, I just couldn't wait. I knew it was going to be sick. Very technical back and forth fight on the feet. Kopylov ends up getting the win via third round TKO. We'll talk about the stoppage in a moment. It was pretty controversial. But yeah, man, first round, they're going back and forth. Roman Kopylov takes it, in my opinion. Second round, definitely the closest round. First half of the second round, Chris Curtis is taking it. He's landing some big shots on Kopylov. The jab is going for Curtis. He cuts Kopylov open and starts making his face all bloody. The jab is looking super crisp for Curtis. He's landing some body shots and everything. Second half of the round, Kopylov starts coming back, lands some big shots, hurts Chris Curtis, stumbles him a little bit. And man, that round could have went either way. First half of the round went to Curtis. Second half of the round went to Kopylov. I think I slightly scored it for Kopylov. That might be me being biased. I'm a big Kopylov fan, but I thought Kopylov's half of the round was better than Curtis's half of the round. Definitely could have went to Curtis, though. Either way, would have been a very close round. Would not be mad if they gave it to Curtis. In the third round, Kopylov just starts taking over again. He starts making a big comeback, hurts Curtis a couple times. And, they're both exhausted and swinging at the end of the round. And Kopylov lands a head kick around the guard of Chris Curtis, which stumbles him. Curtis kind of falls over down to his knees, and he's kind of struggling to get back up. And then the ref calls it with 1 second left to go, and counts as a TKO for Roman Kopylov. Very interesting. I don't think they should have stopped that. Kopylov, he probably could have finished the fight if he just jumped on him, but he decided to, not jump on him and not get any ground and pound against Curtis. Curtis was on his way to get back up. I kind of agree with the stoppage, though, at the same time, because Curtis, he was very much struggling to get back up. He was kind of staying on his knees for a bit, and, classic Chris Curtis. whining about the stoppage. He was going to lose the decision anyways. Not sure why he was crying that much, but oh well. Roman Kopylov, man, back and forth scrap. Both of them looked great. Very technical striking. Kopylov just looked more dynamic with the kicks. And yeah, man, next for Kopylov, I have a very sick, matchup in mind. Roman Kopylov versus Paulo Costa. I think, dude, get that on a card, man. That would be a sick matchup. There's some other matchups you want to go for. There's some other matchups you could go for. Is what I should say. Um, maybe Jack Hermanson could be interesting. Roman Dolidze. Maybe a Jared Cannonier if he loses to Gregory Rodriguez. Maybe a Marvin Vittori. That's probably too far up in the rankings. Maybe a Michel Pereira. You want to give him a ranked opponent, though. I want to see Roman Kopolov's next fight against ranked opposition because I think he deserves it after that performance against Chris Curtis, who I think was right outside of the rankings, probably like number 16 or 17. But yeah, man, Roman Kopylov, great fight. I think the best fight for him next is Paulo Costa because I don't even think Paulo Costa should be ranked. I think if Kopylov beats Paulo Costa, kick Paulo Costa out of the rankings, man. He does not deserve to be in there. I wouldn't be mad at a Jack Hermanson matchup, though. I think that would be a lot harder. I think Jack Hermanson's a much tougher fight for Kopylov than Paulo Costa. I can honestly see Hermanson beating Roman Kopylov, similar to what he did against Joe Pyfer, but I think Kopylov is a lot better than Joe Pyfer, so who knows. But yeah, man, sick fight. As for Chris Curtis, I don't really know who you go for. I don't really know who you go with for Chris Curtis. Maybe I'm pretty sure people were talking about him moving down to welterweight. Sean Strickland apparently saying he can move down to welterweight, but Curtis just doesn't want to do the weight cut or something, which I respect. Big respect for fighting in your own weight class. And yeah, man, maybe Chris Curtis versus I don't know, maybe if Andre Muniz, maybe if Ikram Aliskerov beats Andre Muniz, you can do Ikram Aliskerov versus what's his name, Chris Curtis, because Chris Curtis has really good takedown defense. You can maybe do that. I don't know, man. I'm kind of rambling here, but I think this was a sick fight, and I think both fighters showed up well. And honestly, I think Ikram Aliskerov versus Chris Curtis would be an interesting matchup, just because of the takedown defense of Chris Curtis, and the boxing of Chris Curtis. I think he'd be a tough matchup for someone like Ikram Aliskerov. And yeah, Roman Kopylov versus Paulo Costa. That's my takes on this fight. Sick fight, definitely fight of the night. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Cesar Almeida gets a nasty first round KO. Al Hassan drops Almeida actually, and then he's chasing the finish. He's beating him up against the cage, and Almeida, man, one single left hook counter placed right on the chin of Al Hassan puts him to sleep, and he's out for a good solid few minutes. He's struggling to get up. And man, that's what you get for running in with your chin open against an accomplished kickboxer like Cesar Almeida, man. Cesar Almeida is good. He's a good kickboxer. He's a good striker. Nothing to be played with. He's got power, and man, he just put Al Hassan out. Great knockout of the night, in my opinion. Man, just I don't know. I just wasn't expecting it. I thought he was cooked. I thought when Cesar got dropped and he was getting beat up against the fence, I thought he was cooked. But really nice left hook counter from Cesar Almeida puts Al Hassan to sleep. Next for Cesar Almeida, man, I honestly don't know. There's a couple really really interesting matchups you could go with for Cesar Almeida. Maybe like let me think here. Maybe a Bruno Fajeda. Bruno Fajeda could be interesting. Maybe an Armin Petrosian. That could be interesting. You never know. Maybe maybe a Marc Andre Barriou. Any of these fights. I don't think he deserves a ranked opponent yet, but I think, one or two more good wins, he could give Cesar Almeida a ranked opponent. And maybe, I don't know. I think the Bruno Fajeda fight would be perfect for Cesar Almeida. I think him versus Bruno Fajeda would be sick. Definitely going to end in a finish. And yeah, man. As for Abdul Razak Al Hassan, I don't know. Just keep him around. He's a fun fighter. He's finished every single fight that he's won by finish. So definitely still a fun fighter. Maybe him versus like I don't even know, like an Edmund Shabazian maybe. I don't even know where you go with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but definitely keep him around. He's a fun fighter. He's definitely still capable of getting these nasty KOs, but Cesar Almeida, man, just proved he's on a different level. And yeah, let's move on to the next fight. This one hurts a little. Santiago Ponzinibbio TKOs Carlston Harris in round 3. First round, Harris looks great. Dropped Ponzinibbio like 3 times, I think, 2 or 3 times, which was really nice because I picked Harris by decision. And that got me pretty hyped because, Ponzinibbio is rocked. Harris is looking quick. Harris is looking dangerous. He's throwing really awkwardly, and he's catching Ponzinibbio. Second round, Ponzinibbio kind of mixes up the rhythm a little bit more. Throws Harris off. Harris isn't really able to land as much, but still a good round for Harris. I slightly scored Harris the second round. Could have gave it to Ponzinibbio though. And then the third round, Ponzinibbio just turns it up, makes a comeback, and just starts dropping him, starts friggin' rocking him all over the place, and they call it standing TKO. Could call it a bit of an early stoppage, maybe not. Maybe Harris was in the middle of a punch, but Ponzinibbio was on his way to finish that fight anyway, so I'm not going to complain too much. But man, I was so close to getting the underdog pick here. Harris would have won that decision if it went to the scorecards, in my opinion. Won the first 2 rounds, and then Ponzinibbio, man, he just has the ability to come back in these fights later in the rounds and just get the finish. He did it against Alex Morono. Came back against Alex Morono and got a third round TKO. And yeah, man, I think both these guys should retire. I don't want to see either of them fight again. They're both old. They've both been looking not too good in their recent fights. Carlston Harris coming off 2 KO losses now. Yeah, he's 37. Ponzinibbio is 38. I want to see both of them retire, man. I don't think either of them should take any more damage. They're not going to get anywhere near the rankings or, anything like that. But yeah, both retire. Solid fight. A lot of action. Let's move on to the main event next. Mackenzie Dern submits Amanda Ribas in the third round with an armbar. First round, man, Mackenzie Dern gets the takedown, actually initiating the grappling. I was surprised. She gets the first round. Second round, Ribas hits a nice reversal and gets some control time of her own. I gave the second round to Ribas. And then the third round, kind of going back and forth. Mackenzie Dern gets an armbar, and has it for half of the round. Literally half of the third round, she just has this armbar, not letting go. And Ribas, she's trying to get out. She's doing a good job defending. I thought she was going to survive to the fourth round, but last few seconds, Dern gets the right positioning, and Amanda Ribas taps. So good win for Mackenzie Dern. I think next for her should maybe be a Yan Xiaonan or something. I don't know. I still don't think she's that good. She's one of those fighters that sometimes she has good performances, sometimes she absolutely sucks. But you never know. Maybe she actually is going to initiate grappling against people and not just strike with them, and that'll lead to her doing a lot better because she can't strike. Her striking wasn't terrible in this fight, I don't think. It was a little iffy. Definitely could use some work still, but I can definitely see it's kind of improving. But I don't know. She should definitely be trying to take the fight to the ground at all times when she fights guys like Amanda Ribas. And yeah, she just got the win here over Amanda Ribas with an armbar. Not much to say. Decent fight, decent grappling, but let's get on to the recap. 6 for 14 on picks. I did not do very good on this card, but it's a fight night. They can usually be pretty random. Fight of the night, Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov easily. Back and forth scrap. The comeback and the controversial finish for Roman Kopylov. This fight's going to be talked about all year. Could honestly end up being one of the best fights of the year. That fight was sick. And for the best finish, I went with Cesar Almeida's knockout over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Abdul drops him, starts beating him up against the cage, and Cesar Almeida, perfectly placed left hook counter, just puts Abdul out. That's what you get for rushing in against a kickboxer with your chin in the air. Yeah, Cesar Almeida, man, great fighter. And honestly, I expect more finishes like that. Best finish of the night, definitely. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys thought about the card. Let me know if you guys thought it was good, if you thought it was bad. I definitely thought it performed. Compared to the name value and how everybody was saying it's a shit card. Definitely a really fun card. A lot of fun finishes. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys thought. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.